press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Welcome to the online classes. Previous class I have discussed some of the concepts with regard to the excretion. In the last class we have discussed some of the structure of nephron and also how the urine formation will take place, that is under the concept of physiology of urine formation. So within the concept urine formation, that is the physiology of urine formation, okay, that urine formation already I have discussed the first step of urine formation, that is how the urine going to be formed with the help of nephron as well as through the help of the kidney. That can be studied under the physiology of urine formation that occurs in three distinct steps, that is glomerular filtration. The first step is the glomerular filtration. Then second one, tubular reabsorption. And third one, that is the tubular secretion. So in the previous class I have discussed the first step, that is the glomerular filtration. What is the glomerular filtration? It is the filtration of the blood from the glomerulus is known as glomerular filtration. That glomerular filtration, of course, that takes place under the influence of the pressures, such as last class I have discussed that one, that is glomerular hydrostatic pressure, glomerular osmotic pressure, and as well as capsular hydrostatic pressure. Under the influence of that pressures, the blood that is being filtered from the glomerulus, that is passing through three layers, such as that is the endothelium of blood vessels of the glomerulus, then the epithelial lining, inner lining, epithelial lining of the Bowman's capsule, in between them basement membrane. Through those layers the fine filtration will occur, since it is being called as ultrafiltration. And also next step after the filtration, of course last class I have discussed that is the GFR, that means glomerular filtration rate. What is this glomerular filtration rate? The amount of filtrate formed by the kidney per minute, of course, is known as glomerular filtration rate. That is about 125 ml per minute. Each kidney that can able to filter the blood around about, that can able to filter the blood around about 1/5 of blood volume to form the filtrate, that is around about the 125 ml. So the blood will be filtered to form the filtrate. That filtrate which is formed by the kidney per minute is known as 125 ml. Okay, per day about 185 liters of filtrate will be formed within the kidney. Such 185 liters of filtrate will be later converted into 1.5 liters of concentrated urine. The question will arise about 185 liters of filtrate that can be converted into 1.5 liters of concentrated urine per day. So 185 liters will be converted into 1.5 liters of concentrated urine. That is mainly due to, that is one of the major process. The process is called as reabsorption. Reabsorption, that is the process, the reabsorption. Due to this, 185 liters of filtrate will be converted into 1.5 liters of concentrated urine. The next step is that is tubular reabsorption. Okay, last class I have been explained in detail with regard to the glomerular filtration. Then coming to the next step, that is the tubular reabsorption. Okay, what is this tubular reabsorption? The name itself indicates that is the process of reabsorbing, the process of reabsorbing the essential molecules, the process of reabsorbing essential molecules from the filtrate. The process is called as tubular reabsorption. So once again I will repeat, the process of reabsorbing the essential molecules from the filtrate, the process is known as tubular reabsorption. What are those essential molecules? The molecules which are necessary for the metabolic activities. Such molecules, they are essential molecules which are needed by the body. Such molecules are known as essential molecules. The essential molecules, what are those essential molecules? Either it may be sugars, or it may be amino acids, even it may be water. Water is also one of the essential nutrient, and also ions like sodium, potassium, and etc. That is after the filtration. Of course, the filtrate going to form such filtrate having essential molecule. Such essential molecules should be reabsorbed into the blood from the filtrate. The process is known as tubular reabsorption. So the process of reabsorbing the essential molecules such as sugars, amino acids, water, potassium, as well as sodium, such kind of process is known as tubular reabsorption. Usually this tubular reabsorption that occurs within the various parts of nephron. Of course, you are knowing about the various parts of nephron. Such various parts of nephron, they are mainly involved in the reabsorbing the essential molecule. That is, various parts of nephron, they are involved in the tubular reabsorption. So various parts of nephron such as proximal convoluted tubule, it is short form PCT. Similarly, another part involved in the tubular reabsorption, that is particularly Henle's loop. Then distal convoluted tubule, they are the part involved in the reabsorption. and another one collecting duct. Okay. What are the parts of nephron? They are involved in the tubular reabsorption, that is proximal convoluted tubule, as well as enlaced loop, as well as distal convoluted tubule, and also collecting duct. So each one, each part involved in the tubular reabsorption, let us go through with in detail. What about the involvement of proximal convoluted tubule in tubular reabsorption? Of course, it is the much coiled tube present at the base of the Bowman's capsule of the nephron. So, this proximal convoluted tubule that is being lined with one of the brush bordered cuboidal epithelium. So the proximal convoluted tubule, which is lined with the inner wall of the proximal convoluted tubule, having some of the specialized epithelial tissue, that is cuboidal epithelium, that is brush bordered cuboidal epithelium, that will helpful in the reabsorption of essential molecules. So, what are the molecules will be reabsorbed by the help of proximal convoluted tubule? That is about 70 to 80% of the water will be reabsorbed with the help of proximal convoluted tubule. Similarly, some of the sugars are also reabsorbed with the help of proximal convoluted tubule. Similarly, the amino acids also being reabsorbed by the proximal convoluted tubule, and also this proximal convoluted tubule involved in the reabsorption of bicarbonates, HCO3 minus. So, what are the molecules were reabsorbed by the proximal convoluted tubule? About 70 to 80% of water molecule will be reabsorbed. Sugars, amino acids, even the bicarbonates are reabsorbed within the proximal convoluted tubule. It is lined by brush bordered cuboidal epithelium that increases the area of surface absorption. With the help of this brush bordered cuboidal epithelium that increase the surface area of reabsorption. So, the tubular reabsorption, under this, what is the role of the proximal convoluted tubule? It is mainly important in the reabsorption of water, sugars, amino acids, as well as bicarbonates with the help of the brush bordered cuboidal epithelium. So, next to this, under the tubular reabsorption, one more part of the nephron that is involved in that is the enlaced loop. Next to the proximal convoluted tubule, the enlaced loop is almost hairpin-like structure. That hairpin-like structure present just below the proximal convoluted tubule, that is called as enlaced loop. It is often differentiated into descending limb and also and also ascending limb. Descending and as well as ascending limb. Okay. What is the role of the enlaced loop in the tubular reabsorption? It is differentiated into two parts such as descending and ascending limb. Both are involved in the reabsorption. How it is? Let us go through with the descending limb. Usually, descending limb, through this limb, the filtrate will be move in a downward direction. Since it is a descending limb, what is the role of the descending limb in tubular reabsorption? This descending limb, the descending limb is permeable to water. You should know the nature of the descending limb. The descending limb is permeable to the water. That means it can able to allow the entry of the water. So it is permeable to the water. It can permit the water to pass through it. So it is permeable to water, but it is impermeable to ions. What are those ions? The ions, either it may be the sodium or it may be potassium. So it is impermeable to ions. That means the ions cannot pass through it. So it is impermeable to the ions. So descending limb, while the filtrate moving through the descending limb, since the nature is permeable to water, impermeable to ions, so while the filtrate move in a descending limb, say for so it is the descending limb, and consider it is the ascending limb. So while the filtrate moving through the descending limb, it is permeable to the water and impermeable to the ions. So while the filtrate will move through the descending limb, it is permeable to the water, so the water can able to move across with this. So the filtrate, while moving through this, the water will be reabsorbed. Whatever the water molecule is being reabsorbed into the interstitial fluid. So, while the filtrate move through the descending limb, because of the nature permeability to the water, so the water will be reabsorbed into the fluid. That is the interstitial fluid, that is the fluid in between the nephrons. So, such a water molecule will be reabsorbed into the interstitial fluid, so the filtrate become concentrated. Is it not? So while the solution it loses the water, the solution become concentrated. Similarly, the filtrate while moving through the descending limb, because of the descending limb permeable to the water, so the water molecule will be reabsorbed into the interstitial fluid, so the filtrate in the descending limb gradually become concentrated. So such a filtrate move into the ascending limb. That ascending limb, the nature, you must know, the nature of the ascending limb, it is opposite to that, opposite to the descending limb. How it is? The ascending limb which is impermeable to water, but it is permeable to ions. Okay, so the descending limb and as well as ascending limb both are involved in the tubular reabsorption. Descending limb is permeable to water, so the water is reabsorbed and the filtrate get concentrated. While the ascending limb, what is the role in the tubular reabsorption? Before that, you must know the nature of ascending limb. That ascending limb is impermeable to water, permeable to the ions. That means the water cannot able to pass through it. While it is permeable to the ions, that means to say this particular ascending limb allow the movement of ions from the ascending limb to the interstitial fluid. So, because of this nature, the filtrate while moving through this ascending limb, the nature of the ascending limb is impermeable to water. So the water will not be reabsorbed into the interstitial fluid, while it is permeable to the ions. So some of the sodium ions will be reabsorbed because of ascending limb is permeable to ions, while impermeable to water. The water is retained in the filtrate, but the sodium chloride ions will be reabsorbed into the interstitial fluid. As a result, from the filtrate, the ions will be reabsorbed into the interstitial fluid. As a result, that filtrate gradually become diluted. The solution in which the ions are removed. So the water concentration increases. Suppose a solution in which the solutes were removed, solutes were separated, then the water concentration in that particular solution will be increases. So water quantity increases, so that particular solution get diluted. Similarly, here also the filtrate while passing through the ascending limb, it loses the ions. As a result of this, the solution become diluted because of ions were separated. So one thing you must know that the filtrate while moving through the descending limb, the filtrate become concentrated because of permeable to the water. So the water is reabsorbed from the filtrate, so the filtrate get concentrated. While the filtrate moving through the ascending limb, then the filtrate become diluted. Why it is diluted? Question. Because the ascending limb is impermeable to water, permeable to the ions. So the ions were reabsorbed. As a result, the filtrate get diluted. Okay. That too, the tubular reabsorption. Various parts of nephron involved in the tubular reabsorption, we have discussed only two. That is particularly the proximal convoluted tubule as well as enlaced loop. Okay, within the enlaced loop, the involvement of descending and as well as ascending limb. That is, these descending limb involved in the reabsorption of water, while the ascending limb involved in the reabsorption of ions. Okay, next to this, other than these, the parts involved in the reabsorption of essential molecules, that is the another part next to the endless loop, that is called as distal convoluted tubule. Distal convoluted tubule. So, distal convoluted tubule. Next part, it is also coiled tube, but it is a less coiled tubule, superficially similar to the proximal convoluted tubule, but it is present next to the endless loop, next to the ascending limb. So, the distal convoluted tubule, it is also involved in the tubular reabsorption. What are the essential molecule will be reabsorbed with the help of distal convoluted tubule? Let us go through with that. That is the distal convoluted tubule, that is mainly involved in the reabsorption of the water and as well as the sodium ions. The distal convoluted tubule involved in the reabsorption of the water and sodium ions. So, these molecules will be reabsorbed within the distal convoluted tubule under the influence of some of the hormones. Of course, hormones are biochemical messengers. So, these hormones are the biochemical messengers. They are produced in a trace amount, especially by some of the endocrine glands. Of course, in the next content, next chapter, you are going to study about endocrine system in a separate chapter, that is chemical coordination and integration. Within that, you are going to study in detail with regard to the hormones. But in case of this, that reabsorption of water and sodium within the distal convoluted tubule, that is with the help of some hormones. What are those hormones involved in the reabsorption of water? That is the distal convoluted tubule that can able to reabsorb water under the influence of one of the hormone, that is called as ADH in short form. That is ADH, that means anti-diuretic hormone. Anti-diuretic hormone. It is the hormone that acts on the distal convoluted tubule. That ADH that can able to act on the distal convoluted tubule to reabsorb the water molecule. As a result, the distal convoluted tubule that can able to reabsorb the water from the filtrate so as to avoid the diuresis. That means the elimination of excess of water through the urine is known as diuresis. It is the condition in which the person excretes diluted urine, not concentrated. The person who excretes the diluted urine, that is diuresis, or more quantity of water will be eliminated along with urine, which is called as diuresis. Maybe to avoid this diuresis, particularly the ADH hormone, anti-diuretic hormone, that anti-diuretic hormone involved in the reabsorption of water from the distal convoluted tubule. Similarly, Sodium is also one of the ion that is being reabsorbed in the distal contactable under the influence of one more hormone. One more hormone that is being called as aldosterone. Aldosterone. Under the influence of this aldosterone, the distal contactable that can able to reabsorb the sodium. So you must know with regard to the tubular reabsorption, what is the involvement of distal convoluted tubule that can able to reabsorb especially water and sodium. Water molecule will be reabsorbed under the influence of antidiuretic hormone. The sodium also been reabsorbed under the influence of aldosterone. So, next to the distal convoluted tubule, the last part of the nephron which is involved in the reabsorption, such as collecting duct. So, collecting duct, it is the part of nephron that is involved in the tubular reabsorption. That collecting duct involved in the reabsorption of essential molecules such as same as that of distal convoluted tubule. It can also reabsorb water and also sodium ions. So, similarly to the distal convoluted tubule, it is also involved in the reabsorption of water and sodium under the influence of same hormones such as ADH, that is the antidiuretic hormone. That antidiuretic hormone that can able to reabsorb the water. Similarly, the sodium will be reabsorbed under the influence of the same as that of distal convoluted tubule, that is the aldosterone. This hormone involved in the reabsorption of sodium, whatever the water will be reabsorbed under the influence of antidiuretic hormone. These hormones involved in the reabsorption of water and sodium. So, while coming to the tubular reabsorption, the process of reabsorbing essential molecules from the filtrate, the essential molecules such as water, sugar, amino acids, as well as some of the ions, such essential molecules should be reabsorbed with the help of various parts of nephron. Question may arise, what are the parts they are involved in the reabsorption of essential molecules? Athwa the name the parts involved in the tubular reabsorption, such as 4 distinct parts, that is proximal convoluted tubule, as well as the enlaced loop, distal convoluted tubule, and also collecting duct. Okay. Then last step, that is we have studied tubular reabsorption. Before to that is we have also studied glomerular filtration. Next to this, that is the last step in the urine formation, that is the tubular secretion. Tubular secretion. What is tubular secretion? The name itself indicates it is the process of secreting the substances like potassium, sodium, then H plus selectively secretes potassium, sodium and H plus ions, that is by the various parts of nephron. So the process of secreting the substances such as H plus, Na plus, K plus from the various parts of nephron is known as the tubular secretion. That tubular secretion is also a major process in the urine formation. Such secretion of the substances by various parts of nephron is known as a tubular secretion. How the such substances, what are the substances being secreted by the different part of nephrons? Let us know with regard to this. That is, some of the parts of nephron such as proximal convoluted tubule. It is involved in the tubular secretion. The proximal convoluted tubule, it is responsible for selectively secreting particularly the H plus ions as well as the K plus ions and also ammonia, H plus, K plus and as well as ammonia. These substances were selectively secreted by the proximal convoluted tubule. Similarly, while coming to the enlaced loop, it is not involved in the secretion of H plus, K plus and ammonia. So, it is having a little importance in the tubular secretion. Apart from this, the distal convoluted tubule, the distal convoluted tubule is also capable of secreting H plus, ammonia as well as K plus ions. The process is known as tubular secretion. For the tubular secretion, the distal convoluted tubule is also involved by producing or secreting H plus, maybe hydrogen ions, ammonia and potassium ions. Similarly, next part involved in the nephron, that is the collecting duct. Since the collecting duct also involved in the tubular secretion, that collecting duct is also able to secrete same, that is H plus, even ammonia and also K plus ions. The process of secretion of H plus, ammonia and potassium ions is known as tubular secretion. The collecting duct also involved in the selective secretion of H plus, ammonia and as well as the potassium ions. Along with that, this collecting duct, it allow the passage of small amount of urea, very little amount of urea will be passed through it. Why it is so? That is, the collecting duct is also able to secreting the hydrogen, ammonia and as well as potassium ions. Along with that, it allows the passage of small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid, because to maintain particularly osmolarity, that means it can able to maintain the osmotic concentration in the inner region of the medulla. Usually collecting duct, enlaced loop, they are the parts present up to the inner region of the kidney, that is medulla. Within that medulla, the collecting duct that can able to allow the passage of small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid to maintain osmolarity. It can be studied in detail with regard to the counter current mechanism. Next, you are going to study about the counter current mechanism. Within that, you are going to study in detail with regard to the what is the osmotic concentration maintained in the medulla compared to the osmotic concentration, the outer region, that is in the cortex region. That too under counter current mechanism, thereby the concentrated filtrate will be formed. Within that, you are going to study. But now you just remind that the collecting duct also involved in the secreting some ion, some hydrogen as well as ammonia and potassium ions. Along with that, it allows the passage of small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid to maintain the osmotic concentration, or it may be osmolarity in the inner region of the kidney, that is called as medulla. So, tubular secretion, the process of secreting some of the substances like H plus, K plus, even ammonia with the help of various tubular parts of the nephron. The process is known as tubular secretion. That tubular secretion, that is through various tubular part of the nephron, mainly proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule as well as collecting duct. So they are involved in the secreting ammonia, hydrogen and potassium ions into the filtrate. The process is known as tubular secretion. Okay, that is when we ask a question, what are the three major steps involved in the urine formation? Suppose ಏನಾದರೂ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ name the three major steps in the urine formation, such as glomerular filtration, then tubular reabsorption and lastly tubular secretion. Just now we have studied with regard to the physiology of urine formation. Okay, next to this, next to the urine formation, one more concept you are going to study, that is the particularly functions of various parts of nephron. Functions of various That is, after knowing the physiology of urine formation, particularly glomerulus, which draw the blood towards the nephron. Within that glomerulus, just below the glomerulus, the presence of Bowman's capsule. That Bowman's capsule, it is a double walled. What is the function of Bowman's capsule? That is mainly responsible for filtering the blood. That is the main function of the Bowman's capsule is to filter the blood. That is the filtration that to endothelium of blood vessels, basement membrane, and the Bowman's capsule lined with epithelial cells. That epithelial cells, they are called as podocytes. Such podocytes, they are arranged in a intricate manner. Intricate manner, they are arranged in a tightly arranged, they are arranged tightly with the minute spaces. Through that spaces, the blood will be filtered. The spaces will be called as filtration slits. Is it not? Already you are studying filtration slits or filtration pores. Through that, the blood will be filtered so finely. The filtrate, which is similar to the plasma, except the filtrate is similar to the plasma, except the proteins. Without proteins, but the plasma is having proteins, but the filtrate will be formed by the filtration of the blood. Such filtrate do not contain the proteins, but it is, except the proteins, it is similar to the plasma. So the Bowman's capsule, especially within the nephron, it is mainly responsible for reabsorption of the, it is mainly responsible for filtration of the blood. So the fine filtration will be with the help of Bowman's capsule. Okay, next to the Bowman's capsule, when we list another part, that is the proximal convoluted tubule. What is the function of proximal convoluted tubule? Usually, that proximal convoluted tubule, it is mainly involved in the reabsorption. What are the components will be reabsorbed within the proximal convoluted tubule? That is sugars as well as amino acids, and also some of the ions, and also water. Is it not? So, the proximal convoluted tubule involved in the reabsorption of essential molecule, sugars, amino acids, even ions, and also water, with the help of one of the specialized tissue. It is lined by particularly the brush bordered cuboidal epithelium. You must remember particularly the proximal convoluted tubule lined with the brush bordered cuboidal epithelium. It is responsible for reabsorption, that increase the surface area for reabsorption. That is proximal convoluted tubule. Not only function of the PCT, when we consider not only the reabsorption, it is also involved in the selective secretion of H plus as well as ammonia and K plus ions into the filtrate. So, the proximal convoluted tubule involved in reabsorption and also in the tubular secretion. So, this proximal convoluted tubule involved in both reabsorption and secretion. Along with that, it can able to reabsorb some of the bicarbonates. Bicarbonates. Since the main function of the proximal contact tubule reabsorption and also in the secretion. Okay, next to the proximal convoluted tubule, one more part that is the enlaced loop. Of course, enlaced loop, while we study with the physiology of urine formation, I have already explained that one. That is tubular reabsorption. Under the tubular reabsorption, this enlaced loop is also involved in that. Okay, in general, what is the function of enlaced loop? Usually enlaced loop is differentiated into descending limb and as well as ascending limb. Of course, this descending limb, why it is descending? Because the filtrate which move in downward direction. Since it is descending limb, this descending limb, it is permeable to water but impermeable to ions. So the descending limb is permeable to water, impermeable to the ions. So this nature, while the filtrate moving through the descending limb, the filtrate, within the filtrate, the water will be reabsorbed. As a result of water reabsorption from the filtrate gradually become concentrated. Is it not? It is because of permeable to the water, while the filtrate moving through this descending limb, the filtrate loses the water will be reabsorbed. As a result, it become concentrated. Similarly, ascending limb. This ascending limb, that is impermeable to ions, impermeable to water, and it is permeable to ions. So ascending limb is totally opposite to the descending limb, is it not? So the ascending limb is impermeable to water and permeable to the ions, while the filtrate moving through this, while the filtrate passing through this ascending limb, the filtrate, because of impermeable to water, the water is retained in the filtrate. Water is retained, but it is permeable to the ions, so the filtrate will lose us the ions such as sodium or it may be potassium. Because of ascending limb is permeable to ions, so the ions were reabsorbed from the filtrate to the interstitial fluid. As a result, the filtrate loses the ions, so the filtrate become diluted. Because water is retained in the filtrate, only thing is the ions were reabsorbed. As a result, the filtrate get diluted. You must understand the descending limb is permeable to water. Because of that, the filtrate loses the water and the filtrate get concentrated. While ascending limb is impermeable to water but permeable to the ions, so the filtrate, while moving through this, the filtrate retains the water but loses the ions. As a result, the filtrate get diluted. Okay, this Henle slope is mainly important in maintenance of particularly concentration gradient. Concentration gradient, that is from cortex to the inner medulla. This Henle slope that maintains the concentration gradient from the outer region of the kidney, that is cortex, to the inner region of the kidney, that is called as medulla. Usually cortex having a lower concentration gradient, while the medulla which is having more concentration gradient. It is been achieved by the help of the Henle slope. Okay, that is with regard to the function of Henle slope. Similarly, when we list the functions of next part of the nephron, that is DCT, that is the distal convoluted tubule. That distal convoluted tubule, it is mainly responsible for reabsorption and also secretion. In general, the distal convoluted tubule involved in a reabsorption of essential molecule and secreting some of the substances. Collectively, it is involved in a reabsorption and secretion. What is the reabsorption? It is the process of reabsorbing essential molecules from the filtrate. That distal convoluted tubule that can able to reabsorb particularly the water and as well as sodium. Of course, already you are studied with the help of two hormones. One is that is the ADH, and another one is the aldosterone. ನೆನಪಿರಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ, the water reabsorbing hormone, antidiuretic hormone. The sodium reabsorbing hormone, that is the aldosterone. So that ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ. So both of these hormones involved in the reabsorption of water and sodium, while the secretion of distal convoluted tubule, it is mainly involved in selective secretion of H plus as well as ammonia and K plus ions into the filtrate. So distal convoluted tubule involved in reabsorption and as well as secretion. Reabsorption from the filtrate, that is water and sodium under the influence of ADH and aldosterone. Secretion, that is the process of secreting the substances H plus ammonia and K plus into the filtrate. Similarly, last one, that is collecting duct. Usually collecting duct, main function of the collecting duct is to receive the filtrate from several distal convoluted tubules, several nephrons. this collecting duct involved in receiving the filtrate from several nephrons. Along with that, this collecting duct which is also involved in the reabsorption and as well as secretion. So reabsorption and also secretion, what are the molecules were reabsorbed through the collecting duct? The same, the water and as well as sodium as that of distal conjunctive. So water will be reabsorbed under the influence of ADH. The sodium will be reabsorbed under the influence of aldosterone. The next one, that is the secretion. That secretion, that is this collecting duct will also involve in the secretion of H plus hydrogen as well as ammonia and also potassium into the filtrate, that is by the selective secretion. So collecting duct also involved in reabsorption as well as secretion. Along with that, this collecting duct which allow the passage of small amount of urea, very little amount, small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid. Collecting duct, of course, reabsorption and secretion. Along with that, it allow the passage of small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid so as to maintain the concentration gradient, that is the osmotic concentration, or it may be called as osmolarity. So the collecting duct, it allow the passage of small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid only to maintain osmolarity, that is the osmotic concentration will be maintained from cortex to the medulla. Inner region of the kidney will be the medulla, outer region is the cortex. From the cortex to medulla, some of the ionic concentration, some of the osmotic concentration will be maintained. So as to maintain this, the collecting duct which allow the small amount of urea into the interstitial fluid so as to maintain osmolarity. This can be studied in detail, that is with regard to the separate concept that is called as counter current mechanism involved in the formation of concentrated urine. Concentrated filtrate will be formed only through the mechanism, that is the counter current mechanism. Okay, next session we will discuss the concept counter current mechanism. Thank you.